Hi everybody and welcome to Gravel Union Talks, a podcast series full of inspiring stories, news and events from the world of gravel. Each month we will be talking with guests who are passionate about riding off the beaten track, adventure riding, bikepacking and gravel racing. I'm your host Carlo, and behind the microphone in the lead it's Olly. Olly, how are you doing?
Better, thank you. For anyone that doesn't know, unfortunately I was in hospital for a week ago, and I was feeling pretty poorly, but now I'm back and feeling much better.
It's great to have you back, and to be honest, you're back earlier than I thought you would.
Okay.
So Eurobike is going to be a little...
of modern medicine, I guess. The drugs are doing their job.
It's great to have you back. Stay take it easy for a while, because you need to recover. But when do you pick up the bike again? When you think you'll be on the bike?
Try on Friday, just do an hour or so near my house and see how it goes. Something flat, because at the minute my fitness is pretty rubbish, I think.
Yeah, well, you should move to the Netherlands there. Everything's flat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, well, great to have you back again. So
thank you.
Today, of course, we have a special guest. If we try and cast our minds back 10 years, cycling in nearly all disciplines was a sport predominantly attracted white, middle-aged, middle-class men. If you turned up at an organized cycling events, ethnic diversity was rare. Even gender diversity was unusual. Fortunately, this is slowly changing. When gravel riding and racing took off, one of the things which attracted riders to get involved was the welcoming, inclusive, friendly attitude. Although it's still early days on the racing side of the sport, we're seeing increasing numbers of riders from previously unrepresented backgrounds lining up on the start line. Team Amani and the Migration Gravel Race have really raised the profile of non-white athletes. In September, the UCI will hold the first ever Road World Championships on African soil in Rwanda. Our guest of this episode is Kofi Kyei, founder of Ride for Unity, which he describes as a global cycling community that celebrates the unity and diversity within cycling. Great goal. But before we head over to Kofi, we always have this little chat on what's happening on the Gravel Union website, Olly, and you take a theme, and it's always connected to the guest.
Yeah, well, it made sense, and this month was an obvious one, that diversity was the topic we're going to talk about, and it's something that has been really fundamental to Gravel Union, that although we're very small in the scheme of things compared to a lot of the other cycling media out there, it in a lot of ways that gives us flexibility, and it means we can run stories that other websites or magazines might not run. So I thought I'd highlight 3 this month that fitted really neatly with talking with Kofi.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, Olly, but I know that it's also really on our list. We want to have we need to have articles on the minorities, on the diversity. I think that's one of the goals even of Gravel Union.
Yeah. So I picked 3 good ones this month, and the first one is really kind of fresh because it was all about a UCI gravel race called the Gralloch, and written by an elite female racer called Caroline Leafsey, who's written quite a few stories for us, and she writes super well, but she also competes at the highest level. So I think she finished 5th in the elite category in the women. And it was all about what the Gralloch organisers did to make the event women friendly, and how they did such a fantastic job of it. And Caroline wrote a really brilliant story all about what it was like, because she's done lots of UCI races, and it was comparing the atmosphere, the spirit, the kind of feel of the event at the Gralloch compared to some of the other ones that she'd done. So it's a really good read. It's worth you get the real feel of what it's like actually to be inside the peloton from her great writing.
I think it's an impressive achievement of Gralloch. I mean,
yeah.
When I know some racing events on the mainland, and especially like in countries like the Netherlands or in Germany, in Aachen, it's really complicated to get 2 races. But they managed to do that, and when you read the article, it really adds to the women's experience. And I can imagine they're always somewhere in the middle or at the front, and they're always, or chased or being chased. It's complicated.
Yeah.
And the article really points out their perspective on things, which is, I think that I've shared the article with some of the organizers to let them
Okay.
see. Okay, it's. I know that it's always an issue because we were time pressed, especially in the Netherlands when you do a race, you get like 2 hours open roads and then you
Yeah.
need to close them again. So I think even with the authorities, this argument, okay, but we need to have 2 races, actually, would be. No, I don't think we get it managed in the Netherlands or Belgium, but or
No,
Germany
it's
or
not an easy fix, is it? But
but it's
when it works well, the women have a really significantly better experience. So it was all about Caroline's experience at this race and how much she really loved it, and it really inspired her to do some more.
and well, hats off to Gralog because I think they are the first that don't see the difficulties, but turn it around and
Yeah,
try things, and it's an eye opener to many organizers. I hope.
yeah.
Not Nepali cycling queen.
Yeah, this is one that I wrote for a change, and I was probably everybody remembers. I was super lucky back in February. I got to go to Nepal and take part in the Trans Nepal, which is their first ever gravel event that did the whole country from top to bottom, and the whole event was run by Nepali staff. So that was one of the aims of the organizer, is to try and keep as much of the benefit of the event locally. So they had local guides, local drivers, local support staff, and the head guide was a woman. And she, not only a woman, but she was absolutely unbelievable. One of the best guides I've ever worked with, and she's
And you know a few,
and
guides.
And I know a lot of guides. Yeah, I've been very lucky. But Usha she's completely unique in that she's the Nepali downhill champion and the Nepali cross country mountain bike champion from 2024, as well as being a professional guide. And she's the only woman guide that's able to guide the whole country. So she can work at altitudes of 5,000 meters right down to the lowlands. And so I did an interview with her to find out about her history and really to kind of get into what makes her tick and what just to find out some background. And her story is super, super interesting to read.
Yeah, it is.
So it made a really good piece.
Yeah, it's interesting to see her perspective on also in a country like Nepal. Okay, how things. And she wants to have like a leading role, but it's difficult to get more traction with women over there.
And her aim is to get more and more and more women into cycling as a career. And so when she retires from racing, that's what she's going to focus her whole life is going to be about, trying to better the women in Nepal, which is an amazing aim. And she was super inspirational to ride with.
Yeah, and last article that we want to highlight is a short trip of a German lady, 20,000 kilometers.
It's incredible. And this is an interview that we did slightly earlier in the year with a German rider called Wiebke Luhmann, who was again really lovely and again totally inspirational. And she just decided that she wanted to ride down the whole of the west coast of Africa. So she set off in Europe, made her way across to Morocco, and then rode right the way down to the very tip. And it documented her journey and all the adventures and the amazing sights and the people that she met and the cultural differences going from country to country, and just the whole experience of what it's like to bike pack, what it's like to do it solo, and what it's like to do it as a woman as well. And she wrote a fantastic story and beautifully illustrated with photographs.
Yeah, it takes you all the way from Germany to the tip of South Africa. So that's nice. Let's do this new jingle, or the old jingle actually. And head over to the main guest.
Great. Kofi, thank you very much for joining us. It's a real pleasure
Kofi.
to have you.
Thank you both for having me. It's a delight to be here on this sunny day in beautiful England.
It seems kind of a shame, doesn't it, to be stuck indoors when it's so sunny, but it's good to chat anyway. And we've all three of us have met and we've ridden together a bit earlier. Probably last year we met in Germany, didn't we, and rode at Grand Giro. And we thought you would be the perfect guest to have on, because we want to talk about you as a person, what you've done in terms of your career as a cyclist, how you got into gravel, but also all the community-based work you do with trying to get more diversity, more underrepresented riders into gravel riding. But we thought we'd start off with a really easy icebreaker question, first of all. and this is to see how good your memory is. Can you tell us something about your first bike? How much do you remember about it, and what did you love
Oh,
about it the most?
oh, that's a good, that's a good one. I think the first bike that I had, it will be going back probably about 30 years now, Ollie. Um, I know it was silver. I don't know whether it was a particular brand, maybe something like an Apollo, something cheap and cheerful.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember that brand from
Yeah,
back in
certainly
the
do.
days. And I just remember just traveling with it, mostly being like in car parks and doing stupid stuff with my friends, and then over time like adding things to it to make it purple in some ways. So brake levers and just little the bottle cage holders. But yeah, that was a long time, and I can't tell you what happened to it, where it went. I know where all my bikes are. I've got all the receipts for them now, but
Okay.
this Silver Fox has gone to bite heaven, I think, but I couldn't tell you where.
Great, well, that's right. As long as it's happy memories anyway, that's the important thing.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
Great. Right, next one. If we were going to ask you to sum yourself up in 3 words, which ones would you choose?
Ooh, that's a tough one. 3 words. No swear words.
No swear words,
No
ideally.
swear words. All right. So I think I'd have to say, I'd like to say kind-hearted. So that's hyphenated. Can I
Yeah,
put
that's
that?
okay. We'll give you that one.
I'd have to say adventurous, because that captures fun. Sneaking that one in there, and
Yeah.
then I'd say intentional. That's my last one. Really.
Intentional. Oh,
Okay.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Intentional in what context? Kind of focused or driven, that kind of dedicated, that kind of.
Yeah, along the lines. I think I don't know if it happens when you hit your 40s or just for me, just with life changes and whatnot. But what I've come to realize is if I'm lucky, Ollie and Carlo, I've got as many years ahead of me as I've got behind me. And if I'm not, I've probably got less.
Yeah.
So when I talk about being intentional, it's really about 3 things. That is the people, the places, and the pursuits that uplift me and make me feel good. That's where I'm intentional about spending my time. And anything else, gone are the days when I'm like, oh, you should do this or you have to do that to make
Okay.
people happy. I'm just not doing it because life is short. And if I don't wake up tomorrow, I don't want to spend my last 24 hours doing stuff I didn't want to do. So that's what I mean by intentional.
That's a
Like-
really good ethos to live by.
Life lessons here, Ollie. It's well,
Yeah, life lessons, exactly. It's never too early in the day for a good life lesson.
Yeah.
I suppose it's something last week when I was week 4 when I was in hospital, it made me think exactly that what if you don't get any more time? Have you got your money's worth? Have you done all the things that are important? And it's a really good way to live, isn't it? Make sure that you're doing the stuff that is important, not just going to meetings and filling in spreadsheets and blah de blah.
Yeah, because I mean, there's stuff that we all have to do to keep the lights on and whatnot. But I think for me, what I've realized is we feel empowered when we have choice, and we do. You have a choice, not necessarily with everything, but one of my to-do list daily tasks is fun. I put it there, and it could be 5 minutes or an hour on the bike. It doesn't matter, like playing some music, but I control that, and that makes me feel like, okay, you know what, life is doing life, which it will, but I'm intentional about making it the way I want it as much as I can.
Great.
Well,
That's a
thanks.
good ethos.
Yeah, sure.
We're going to have to do that, Carlo. We're going to have to put fun on the to-do list each day.
I have my fun item on the list. I just made arrangements that I have a summer evening ride tonight with a friend of mine. So and we have a beer afterwards. So that's double
that.
fun.
Love that. No good story starts with water, in my view, Carlos. So definitely get some beer in there.
Right, we should take you back a bit, Kofi, and talk about cycling and how you first got into it. So you had a silver Apollo, which you purpled as much as you could and made into your dream bike. How did you get it? Kind of once you'd got to adulthood, what made you keep cycling, or what inspired you to get into it more seriously?
Yeah, so a Silver Apollo went to bite heaven, as I said. I think it may have been like a move or something like that, or going to university or something like that. I don't know, but it went. Then when I got into cycling more, was probably around 2005, And at the time at work, they were giving away £500 that you could use for like well-being, something to do with well-being. It was really pioneering company to be even talking about
Yeah.
that way back then. And I thought, I know what I'm like. I'll just spank the money on nonsense. So let me buy something that I can keep and use. And that led me to buy my first bike. And so I bought that and managed to get a helmet and a lock, all for £500.
You did
No
well.
pedals. So yeah, so back in the day before the prices became pricey, and started riding that on the weekends with friends, just every now and then, not regularly. Really enjoyed that. Then began commuting after braving central London, which I was petrified of doing.
Yeah.
And then it became a thing of, oh, actually, if we can do these weekend rides, why don't we set ourselves a goal to do London to Brighton, or actually let's go abroad and tackle some of these famous cols like Ventoux and Alpe d'Huez and stuff like that. And I think from then, you know how it goes. I mean, we're talking cycling. The bug bit me properly, and I got infected worse than the case of COVID. And here I am, 20 years on, still loving it and exploring it, you know?
Great. I've been doing lots of Instagram spying to figure out what makes you tick, and you've basically done all of the different kinds of cycling, haven't you? So you've tried mountain bike, you've done lots of road riding, you've done criterium racing, you've done gravel racing at Ground Zero, and you've done some cyclocross. If we said to you had to pick just one of those to do from now on, which cycling discipline would you choose?
That's a mean question.
And that's harsh, isn't it?
This like choosing my favorite child. You know, I may have one, but might not be able to tell you on air,
exactly.
The others will know. But so road has been my main focus, but I have to say, it would be gravel. It would be gravel
It's
because
the correct answer.
For our podcast
okay. No, that's actually my answer. But it would be gravel, and the reason why is because gravel is the perfect hybrid between sort of mountain biking and road. For me, it's stolen since I got into it maybe like 3-4 years ago now. Really, my first Grand Zero. I haven't looked back because you can get off the road and be in nature, and there's something super recharging for me about being out of four walls and being in nature away from other road users. And you know, being adventurous as I am, like I can do some dumb stuff with a gravel bike and go to places which I wouldn't ordinarily on my road bike. But it's not the same as mountain biking where you'd have to send it off certain things, which I love.
Okay.
But I think gravel would be the one because I could go fast and far, but also have a lot of fun. So fast, fun, and far.
Great.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a good way to sum it up in
but you
short
mix
as word as
You still
possible.
mix things up. You do some mountain biking, some road riding, and also some gravel riding.
Yeah, I do. So recently, this is why I say it's so hard, is recently I've got myself a Marin Rift Zone, so full suspension,
Yeah.
beautiful bike, which I'm not qualified to ride, so I'm having a lot of fun learning my limits. That's really fun. Like even just half an hour on that is a lot of hard work. So been working on my upper body strength because I need it to hold the wide bars and do the nonsense I've been doing. So I would love that. But as I say, I'd default back to gravel because if I want to have a longer day in the saddle, it's lighter and yeah, I can go further, faster, and it's still fun.
Great. And we're obviously biased, aren't we, Carlo?
Yeah,
But
we
I think gravel's
We are.
because it's the perfect combination of all the other disciplines, and it's the good mix.
Absolutely.
We're gonna head back to 2020, which seems like a lifetime ago, in the middle of COVID and all the hideousness that went with it. And you set up something called Ride for Unity, which we have talked about in the past on Gravel Union, but not in any great detail. So could you give us an overview of what it is, why you set it up, what the aims were of it, and also where you see it going?
Yeah, so it feels like yesterday, but like a long time ago, you know, when we were panic buying toilet rolls and doing all that sort of crazy stuff over in the UK. But essentially, like, what got me to start Ride for Unity was the murder of George Floyd. And I'd known that there had been police brutality, like going back to the LA riots in 1992, and black people were like disproportionately affected by these sorts of things. But I guess being over here and not having any real scrapes with them, I kind of just buried my head in the sand. But for some reason, whether it's because I was trying to stay alive from this invisible killer, or whether it's because I saw a picture of George Floyd with a daughter and I had become a dad, it really hit me like hard in a way that I could, a bit like a fuse board, like all the switches just went off. And I normally would go out riding just to relieve stress and just get my mind off stuff. And I went out and I normally take pictures. And I remember after it happened, I tried to do that. I went out, I rode, I think 50K or something, couldn't take any pictures, came home, didn't want to eat anything, just felt crap, really crap. And I just thought, this just sucks, because here we all are trying to survive, and then for whatever reason, it seemed fine and fitting that someone should meet their end in that way. So I thought, what can I do? You know, what can I really do? And at the time, what friends and I had been doing was we'd been riding on Zwift together, and then having like a WhatsApp call to just chat the breeze, some from America, all over, just a few of us, about 7 or 8 of us, and we just talk about what we do, when the weather had got, the COVID had cleared, and whether we could go back to the Alps as we've done before. And so it just kept our spirits high. And I thought, you know what, perhaps I could use cycling as that tool to bring people together, because I've always found, as a cyclist, no one cares about your exoskeleton, as I call it. They don't care what shade, shape, sex, sexual orientation, whatever you are. When I've had a bike, it's almost like a passport into a secret family. You know, anywhere, in the world I've been, someone sees you on a bike, they will help you and go out their way to support you. And I thought, ooh, maybe the world could use some of this, because I did have a stab at being a keyboard warrior and like sending angry things to people that were talking about all lives matter and stuff. But I thought, let me do something productive that wouldn't make me bitter. So the idea of Ride for Unity is to celebrate our diversity and our unity and our inclusion as cyclists. So no matter where you are, no matter who you are, like, we all love bike, and together we ride. And so through the years, what I've done is shared the stories of cyclists of all backgrounds, whether it's been mums with twins who've got into it through triathlons and wanting to be body proud again, or amateur riders that have just taken it a step further to become ultra endurance riders or ultra distance riders. I just want everyone to be represented, because for me, seeing is believing. And if we can see it, then we might be like, do you know what? I might do that. And I just wanted people to have the physical and the mental benefits, as well as the coffee and cake that we all know and we love that come with cycling. So that's a bit about it, really.
Great. At the minute, you do lots of podcasts, don't you? Or live stream videos is the big thing. And you've had some really interesting guests on there. Is that something that you're going to continue?
Oh, yeah. So I had a bit of a life quake, so some personal changes that put me offline for a little while. So I came back. I'm back now doing it, and we've been back on the road this year, from Girona to South Africa to the UK, just again doing what we've always done. Oh, in Italy as well, just talking to a wide range of cyclists, and I love it. I love the community that I discover and unearth, and the engagement that it gets, because I usually ask people similar questions about what they love about it, what got them into it, and then any tips that they could share with other people to make the jump into it, or the plunge even deeper, like as accessible as possible. So yeah, there'll be more of that to come, and some other things too, with the help of the amazing ambassadors that are around the world that really support and push the community, even when I'm not. They're out there riding and representing. So I've got to say thank you to all of them.
Great. We'll put in the show notes for this, we'll put a link to it so that everybody can follow the social media that you put out, and can have a look at your website and things.
Cheers.
So we met first time in 2021 very briefly, because you took a group from Ride for Unity to Grindura, Wales, and I thought we ought to talk about Grindura, because you're a big fan and you've been to a lot of the events, haven't you now? So you went to Wales in 2021, you went to Germany and Italy last year, and California last year as well. Or was that California the year before? I forget.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to get some sort of World Masters badge going for this. So I don't know if there is one, but if you find out from James and Paul, then
there
let me
should
know.
be.
But
Yeah.
there should be. So Grandura Wales 2021 was my first, and took a crew there. Then I went back in 2022 and lost my sense of humour because the rain was horizontal, and I took a waterproof, but I thought it'd be sensible to leave it in my tent. So that was fun. And then in 2023 I went to California, and then last year where I saw Carlo and of course you as well was in Germany and Italy.
Great.
At either end of the year. So yeah, it's a format that works for me, and I love it. Like cash allowing, I'll always be there really.
Have you got any more on your list? Because there's a whole bunch of new ones, isn't there now?
Yeah. Well, I've done a plan for the year, and God willing, and a favourable tailwind, I'll be in Scotland next month for that return, and then 10-year anniversary in California. That is kind of like my spiritual home alongside Croydon.
Okay.
So I need to.
Croydon and California are pretty similar.
Mate, because we're a sea, don't at me.
There we go,
So I really, really want to be there in September and just reconnect with the amazing folks that I met there in 2023. But also 2024 I went to Sea Otter, which is probably why you thought maybe it was last year. Right. So that was in California as well.
It was California, just different event.
Yeah. So yeah, I love it there.
Great. Well, James, I'm sure is very happy to have you at all the events. So we'll ask him whether you can get some kind of award for having done the most.
Yeah,
just a little trophy. Just
exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing big. Can only.
I don't. Yeah, I never win anything. So just small.
Grand Euro veteran, multi-continent participant.
Yeah. That's it.
You've done plenty of other racing as well, haven't you? So it's not just Grand Euro, because you've done urban crit racing and you've done some cyclocross. What got you into those two? Why did you start them, and what did you love about them?
Yeah, do you know the funniest thing is, no one's ever asked me that, but I'm going to have to come clean. It was a girl.
A good reason as any.
It's always a good, yeah.
Yeah, a girl. So
the intentions were different this time.
Well, I don't know, Carlo, man. I'll tell my truth that you can judge it as you see it. But no, I think it would have been 2023. I was dating, and I should probably want to remain nameless, so I won't bring her into it, but a lady who was a semi-professional cyclist, did road and crits and a bit of gravel, and she'd encouraged me to come out with her on a ride. I was like, no, you're good, I won't, I don't want to cramp your style. And she said, look, one day I've got a zone 2 ride, it's in the local Surrey Hills, sort of rolling terrain, it should be fine, let's do this. And I was like, all right, cool. And the truth is, I was sexist and I didn't know it, because my thing was, I know you're semi-pro, but I'm a guy and you're a girl, and I've got to be stronger. I must be stronger. And I had a few weeks off the bike, and I went with her on this zone 2 ride. And when we were going downhill, she kept pedaling and stuff. And I was like, what are you doing? And it was like 35 miles in, and we came to stop. There was still 2 hours to go. Came to stop at this pub, and I couldn't walk. I couldn't go and get the drinks, so she had to go and get the drinks while I sat outside thinking about my life choices and wondering if I could call my mum or somebody to fetch me from the middle of nowhere in Surrey. And she came out sprightly, cheerful, with this orange and lemonade mix, and she was like, yeah, so are you ready to get go? And I said, darling, you know what, go for it. I think the heat has got the better of me. I don't want to hold you back. You go do your thing, and I'll find my way back to your home, and I'll be fine. And so I limped back. She did 2 hours, probably in the same time as it took me to do 5 miles. but when she got back, I said to her, "Look, this won't do. I'm dying, and I need you to take me to your dealer. Wherever you get what you've got, I need it." And from there, I got a personal trainer who was her personal trainer, who got me on that road to fitness. And he asked me what my objective was. I said, I want to have fun. I don't want to die on the bike ever again when I'm riding with my girlfriend. So Can you just make it fun for me? And he's like, cool, we'll do that. And a few months down the line, he was like, look, you're super consistent. You've got a really great base. I don't know how you're doing it, but would you like to look at racing? I was like, nah, not me. I never So I'm like 42, 43. I don't do racing. Like I don't bounce back. And he said, no, you really can. I train a lot of races, and then I was like, all right, well, I am adventurous. In for a penny, in for a pound, and that's how I got into it really through a girl.
That's great. That's
Great
a
story.
really cool story.
Yeah.
And it's great as well to underestimate a woman and then get your ass kicked. That's a
Oh man, it was
Perfect.
handed to me in ways that I can't. I honestly, there's a picture circulating somewhere of me broken with like I couldn't walk. It was so bad. It was so bad.
well. That's good.
I'll
If
never
it
forget it.
inspired you to kind of do more, to push yourself a bit, then she did
Yeah.
a job.
She did, and I'll be forever grateful. We're not together, but
Okay.
yeah, she introduced me to cycling on a whole nother level.
Great.
And
We were going to talk. Coaching was one of the questions I had on the list, so that linked very neatly into that. You've used a coach for a couple of years, and you also had a bike fit done. Did those? They obviously did. Did they make a significant difference to you? And would you recommend other cyclists who are kind of going through the same thing? They're going from happy amateur and they want to push themselves a bit. Would you recommend a coach, and would you recommend a bike fit?
Yeah, absolutely. So my coach and I have parted company like earlier this year, and combination of reasons, like he got super busy with work, and he was sort of coaching on the side, and so couldn't be available as much as I sort of needed. And at the same time, he'd over a couple of years he sort of built me up to a level where I could sort of keep the things ticking and then manage myself. I would like to get another one, but I've started my own business, so I thought let me just get that off the ground. But 100%, yes, I would recommend both. The bike fit I had done by a wonderful gentleman called Lawrence. He's also part of the Ride for Unity community and chain gang cyclist as well. Great guy, all angles bike fit. Shout out to him. And I had never thought I needed one because I just usually just adjust the saddle to my hip and then sit on it and see how I feel and then off I go. But working with him, I realized just how the muscles get fatigued and the pressure on your wrist, you know, all the contact points, your wrist, your tushy and your feet can be exacerbated if you're not fitted correctly. So I would swear by that because you just don't know what you don't know unless you happen to have bike fit in your DNA. And then the coach, for me, it just gave me some structure to hang my enthusiasm around, because what I was doing before I had one was I love riding, and then I'd see it on my Strava, I go through the roof in terms of my fitness. And then I'd get to this point where I just drop off, and then for about 4 weeks I just don't want to look at or touch my bike. And what I didn't realize is what I was doing was overtraining, therefore burning myself out. So working with the coach helped me do this sort of incremental gain thing. So now my overall level is a lot higher, but then I'm not just visiting the top, I'm staying close to the top. So yeah, anyone thinking of doing, especially if you're going to do any events or racing, like get one. Like some can be really reasonable in terms of price, and you'll unlock new levels of fun. That's why I did it anyway.
Because you use it like a coach for your structure, but because I always think when I used to work with a coach for a while, also the mental aspect, you know, you there's like, okay, you need to do the things for yourself, but also you have like the responsibility to your coach, but also the conversations that are having, you know, are what are your goals? You get much more focused. How do you see that? You know, the interaction with a coach is not only for the training, but also for the mental aspect, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%, and that's a really good shout, Carlo, because my coach, so James, that was his name, he was great in terms of being my accountability partner,
Yeah.
but also he was a really decent. He is. He's not dead. So he's a really decent human being who, you know, at times where I'd feel guilty because I couldn't do something because I'd have co-parenting responsibilities with my children, or I had work come in, or something would go on and I couldn't do it. I'd usually beat myself up and just stress out about it and what have you. And then I'd speak to him and he'd be like, no, do what your body tells you to do. We've got this structure and we've got this plan, but stress in itself can have a destabilizing impact. So if for whatever reason you had a crappy night's sleep or you didn't want to do the 2 hour zone 2 ride or whatever it was that was on the plan, little and often is better than, you know,
I do
forcing
think
yourself.
I think
So,
that's a good point for people who don't have, you know, never worked with a coach, is that people think, you know, they have like this old school football coach idea of, you know, somebody saying you have to do this and you have to do that, and being very strict and dictating things. But it is like a conversation. Okay, how do you feel actually? Well, you have to learn that you don't, you missed the training or you skipped the training, you didn't feel well. You can't do that in the next week. You have to listen to your body. I think that's a great point, and people should, if they want to improve their level. Yeah, why don't you look at coaching? Even cycling apps can help you out quite a lot. But the personal coach has the advantage of you have
He's disappeared.
you have an interaction with a real human being.
I'm here.
Yeah,
we lost
Carlo's
Carlo.
Okay, we'll keep going because I'm sure he'll come back in a minute.
Yeah, but no, he had a great point about if you want to improve and work with a coach. And what I found with the coach was actually he really wanted to understand my diary, like what does my week look like, what time do I have, and what things do I want to be in there. So, for example, we introduce 5K run once a week, so it doesn't have to be hours and hours and hours. It's just what suits you.
Okay.
Oh, I see movement. Carlo, you're back with us.
I was off for a while, but I'm back. Sorry, my internet connection broke up.
Okay, we'll keep going.
Sure.
It's no problem, Kofi. The next thing we were going to talk about, when I was looking at your Insta post, you wrote a really good one, and I'm going to quote what you'd written on there. And you said that you'd never seen yourself as a bike racer growing up. The truth is, it wasn't on my radar. Why? And I guess because I never saw it as something that black guys did, having not seen many in the sport as a kid. And that thing about being what you see is really important, isn't it, in this? So if you only ever see white middle-aged guys racing, you're never going to think, I can do that. In the last few years, things like Team Armani and the impact that they have had, and the migration gravel race has suddenly brought lots more African racers or non-white racers into the gravel world. What kind of impact do you think that's had on do you think that have they had an impact, you think, in the UK? Do you reckon they've made a difference? Because I know that racing is pretty niche, but there suddenly is a lot more non-white racers on start lines. And do you think that's had a benefit that you can feel?
I think it's a combination, I think you've got at the pinnacle, in terms of elite sport, you've got Team Armani doing amazing things. You talked about Binyam as well and winning things. That's been great because those are the things that sort of televise or circulate more widely, perhaps with a broader reach, beamed to millions of TVs or whatever. But I think the complement to that has been the rise in the grassroots movements.
Right.
So Ride for Unity would say, while we are a global community, we're very much a grassroots movement, which was all about build it and they will come, and come people have, because it's all about inclusivity, So diversity is one thing, but I'd love to shine a light on making the sport more inclusive, because if it is, then more people want to do it. And separate to Ride for Unity, there are organisations doing amazing things like the Black Unity Bike Ride, which is an annual sort of carnival on wheels. It happens every August. You've got Chain Gang Cyclists, you've got Together We Ride, you've got No Limit. These are all the UK-based ones, let alone the Black Foxes that are sort of spread across the US and Girona with Aisha McGowan and others. And so I think you've had this beautiful movement. For me, COVID paused us and forced us to reset. And for many people, where they couldn't do the stuff they used to do, found cycling, and which is a bittersweet pill, because stock levels went to where they went to, and the number of firms have now gone bust because of it, because of the boom that wasn't sustainable. But that 2020 period to now, I think you saw the top elite level, and then you saw the grassroots movements that I've just mentioned, some of those coming together. And I think that's meant for more people doing things like Ride London or the Tracker or Unbound or whatever it might be, or Grinduro, like my good self and Alison, and Dalila, who came third in Italy just recently. It was our first trip time there last year, and she's gone there this year without me and gone and come third. So some might say that I was slowing her down, but I don't want to say too much about that. Don't want to say too much about this, but underestimate a woman at your peril is something that we've already talked about. So so I think it's a both elite and grassroots, more people seeing it, and it's becoming more popular. Not yet at football levels in the UK or soccer levels in the US, but I think people are saying, hey, do you know what? I can do this. Look, there's some folks that look like me also doing it, and they seem to be having a mighty fine time.
Great. Oh, I mean, that sounds like a positive story all around, doesn't it? Because obviously the grassroots is way more important than the elites, but I think for Joe Public, if they watch the Tour de France, it might be their only cycling event of the year. And then when you see Binyam Girmay winning consistently, being on the podium, getting the points jersey, all that must have done a heck of a lot. Just think, wow, that it's not just white riders that can do this.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really watch like the Giro or the Tour de France. I haven't. I would be really honest. Like as much as I love it, I haven't. But when he started to do well, you best believe I was checking for the highlights and whooping and hollering. Even though I'm not Eritrean, but it was just to see someone that I could relate to in some way and think, geez, you know what? Like, had I started this shenanigans a bit earlier, maybe. So my
you
hope
too
is,
could have been on the podium at the Tour.
yeah, you know. So that's why I need you to give me a trophy because I'm not going to win one. But if you get me one, it'd be good. But my hope is now that kids see this stuff and are involved in the grassroots. So I take my children cycling when they're with me when they want to. And other people are doing the same. Now, these kids now are having opportunities to excel and try things like off-roading that I didn't have. So who's to say that they won't catch the bug and then want to become part-time or full-time racers? So I think the dialogue and the narrative is shifting. And so thanks for inviting me here so that we can keep on keeping on with the good work and the good vibes,
Great. Okay, on a related note to that then, if you were going to give some advice to people from underrepresented backgrounds to get into cycling, what kind of, is there practical things that you would say to them to make it a bit easier? Because as for anybody getting into cycling in the beginning isn't that easy because it's expensive and you need a certain amount of gear. You need a bike, you probably need a helmet, you need some decent shorts. If you've also got all the other issues that non-white riders face, what kind of advice would you give them to try and make it a bit easier and a bit smoother?
Yeah, I think I'd like to be contrarian with the expense aspect. I know, easy for me to sit here and say that now being a sponsored rider with bikes N+1 in my garage, but I think if you want to get into cycling, it doesn't have to be incredibly expensive to start with. There's a shop local to me which does recycling of bikes, which I've taken some of my old bikes to, and there you could pick up a bike 50, 100, 150 pounds, just to get you in, just to start. And look, I'm not sitting here saying that's not a lot of money for some people, but it is not an £8,000 investment, so it makes it more accessible. And start with that would be my advice, and then spend the money on comfortable kit. So a helmet is a must because if you hit the ground, your head isn't going to like it. Some decent bib shorts, just so that you've got the padding on your tushy. It will be sore for a little bit. You don't need to get riding shoes. You could do flat pedals to start off with. And then, a comfortable wicking jersey, a couple of each, shorts, a couple of tops. I think really you could do that all for just under £500, probably, And so accessibility wise, I'd start there. And then the next thing I find, collaboration, connection, and community are the things that are going to keep you going. Find your tribe. Like, they're out there. There is no way you can say, certainly not in London, that there are not like-minded riders that are out there. Find them. There are different apps like Cycle Together. I've got a friend of mine, Lawrence, who's launching another app that's going to allow you to check out different rides. And go out and just give it a try. They'll do trials. You can go and try and ride with them. And you may find a real wealth of information and support to help you on the journey, because no one starts off with anything as a pro. We all suck. And yet somehow I think when we move from being kids to being adults, we're like, oh no, I've got to be good at it at the beginning. And if I'm sat, then people are going to laugh at me. Some people will, but some people will laugh at you, but those are not your tribe. The people that say your socks need to be this high, your glasses need to be perched this way, they might not be your people. But if they are your people, then they're out there. So like life, cyclists come in all shapes, sizes and flavors. And I think, find your community, find your tribe, start off small, and then it's a bit of a gateway drug that we're pushing here, really, isn't it? Before you know it, you're like, oh God, I need those wheels because they'll save me like 5 kilograms so that I can go faster, and so on and so forth. But start small and build up from there. That's my advice.
Good advice. And also that, if you reach out to communities, to other riders, like you said earlier, I think that when I see somebody on a bike, or when somebody sees somebody on a bike, you will be helped, and you're helping. Because
Yeah.
and also riding together. If you ask somebody, can I ride along with you for just to check things out? Yeah, sure. I think
Yeah.
that's part of the community, and that makes it also really great to we want to have this community bigger. We want to have more people
Yeah.
involved.
100%. And like your point, I think, Carla, you were saying later on, one of your fun things is you're going to meet a buddy and you're going to have a beer with them. And I can't stress enough, like the mental
Absolutely. Yeah.
well-being aspect of it, because in the 5 ways of well-being, it's being active, cycling does that. It's connecting, cycling does that. Learning something new, cycling does that. There is the opportunity to give back if you help someone else, cycling does that. And then being mindful and being present, cycling does all of it. So it is the number one tonic for well-being across the mental and physical domains. And if that doesn't sell it to people, I don't know what will. Let's have it. Let's have it.
That leads very neatly into our next question, which is that you're away from cycling. You work as an executive coach, and you're working with some of the UK's top FTSE 100 companies, and you train their senior leaders to empower them and to kind of grow their potential. Are there bits of your work that are relevant also to gravel riders as well as the business community?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my work is all about empowerment and elevation of leaders, and it's an inside job. For me, it starts with leading yourself. And so that's mastering a few areas. So it's your mental, your physical well-being, your connection with your purpose, being sort of the three sort of key ones. And the connection I see with gravel riding is that as a coach, what I do really is I'm helping people to raise their level of self-awareness, but also raise their level of responsibility for the things that they can control. So, we talked about intentionality earlier on, and we talked about, following your joy. I think you can pivot that quite nicely to cycling, because often as a coach, when I'm working with people, they'll come with a perspective of, oh, I don't think I can do that, or I'm not very good at this, or I'm having this conflict here and there. And as a coach, it's asking them sort of questions that help them to reframe the perspective they have. And I feel gravel riding, hopefully not too tenuous a link, has done that for me insofar as, and others insofar as, yes, it's a bike, but it's a bike experience in a whole different way. And it's a new set of skills, with the wider, more flared handlebars, for example, but also the terrain shifts on the road. Basically, unless you hit some oil or something, what the bike generally should do from a physics perspective. Off-road, all bets are off, because sand could be a feature, loose over hard could be a feature, it could be muddy, it could be all sorts. And so the ability to learn and to challenge yourself and be adventurous is so powerful that I think it gives you that confidence, like when you're faced with a new challenge, you've never done it before. Well, I did gravel riding, so I could smash this as well,
Great. Well, right, Carlo, we have no excuse now not to succeed in life in general for gravel riders.
We're trying.
That's one less excuse anyway. I have to come up with a better one.
Love it.
Right, final question, Kofi, because we've got through most of the list. And we we had the same question every month, and then I decided we'd do something a bit different. So we're gonna diversify. Is there one place in the world that you haven't ridden yet, and if so, where is it, and why would you want to go there?
Oh, this is not fair.
To narrow it down to just one is pretty hard.
This is really, really not fair. Oh man. Okay, so I'm torn. Can I cheat and have two, please, pretty please?
Yeah, go on. We'll be nice.
Okay, so I'd have to say I'm so torn. Number one would be Mauritius. So I haven't had the opportunity to visit the country. It is breathtaking, and the people are so friendly and welcoming, inclusive they are, and the terrain is it has it all, from sort of rainforesty type things to the beaches as well. So you can have a little gravel ride and then a little dip in the sea. And the biodiversity is awesome. And then the second would be South Africa for me. Like there is a race there, the Cape Argus, I think it is, that I'd love to do. And in fact, if finances were not a thing, I would have been there this year for Grinduro, because that I think is going to be a vibe like none other, with the sort of terrain that you've got there, the scenery. I've been a few times but never ridden, and the scenery, you know, like if you're in Cape Town and Tabletop Mountain, and if you go into the wilderness and go down the garden route, like, oh man, like, so yeah, it has to be those two. And there will be more, but I'm going to stop. But yeah, anywhere that is hot, that is adventurous, I'm involved, basically. Find me there.
Great. Well, that's good to have something to aim for next year. I mean, hopefully Grinduro will keep going back.
Yeah. Well, you never know. I might get a little windfall. And if I do, you know where, there will be signs.
We'll know where you'll be.
Essentially, the Minister of Enjoyment will be on a world tour. There will be signs that Kofi is coming to some serious cash. We don't know how, but yeah, he's everywhere.
Another continent checked then.
That's it. That's it.
Well, thanks, Olly and Kofi for doing this great conversation. It inspired me to go and have more fun, even on the
Minister of Fun. I really like that. I think that's a job description with our name on.
That's a good.
Definitely. Well, I call myself the Minister of Enjoyment, or the co-defender of vibes, whatever, or Chief Vibes Officer. Basically, if it's good, I want to be involved. So I'm glad to have shared that with you all. So fun must be one of your daily things.
Infectious. I'm sure anybody listening to this they can feel your positivity coming through the airwaves.
Absolutely. Well,
thank you.
Let's round things off, people. Thank you again, Kofi, for being on the show, and thanks everybody for listening in on this month's edition of Gravel Union Talks. If you have any suggestions for guests or topics you would like us to feature in future shows, then please reach out to us through Instagram, or simply send us a mail, info@gravelunion.cc, and Olly will be getting back to you. Please like and star us on your favorite podcast platform, and make sure to leave your hopefully positive remarks. Don't forget, if you like what you've heard in this episode, there's lots more great stories, features, news pieces, and all the latest gravel event information over on the gravelunion.cc website. Special thanks to Martijn for our jingles and music, and obviously also Ruben for editing the show. Thank you again for listening, and hope you can join us again for the next episode of Gravel Union Talks. Cheers.